Now, the main reason for my coming up with this market memory concept was the tool that I use in order to recognize the market cycle of any time frame, any pair, any market for that matter. Okay, I needed to find a way to utilize this tool in a very consistent way, because without that it would become very subjective. So for the sake of time here, I'm going to go ahead and put this study right on my chart, and I'm going to show you how to do it on your own. Okay. Now what I've just done is utilize what I call the grab tool, and grab just simply stands for green, red, and blue. Green, red, and blue, which you can see I've colored my candles with. I'm not as concerned with, I mean, I need to know, and obviously I can see that reflected in the graph, but I'm not as concerned with the closing up and closing down as I am where the highs and lows were. Okay, because those are the touch points that I'm going to be drawing my trend lines and support and resistance from. But I'll know an up candle by the light green, I'll know a down candle by the dark green. I'll know an up candle by the light blue, down candle by the dark blue. Up candle by the light red, down candle by the dark red. So the darker version of every one of these colors is a down candle. The lighter color is the up candle. And the reason they're green, red, and blue is they basically reflect where prices are in relation to these three moving averages that are cutting across price. These three moving averages are known as my wave, or the 34 EMA wave. And basically the 34 EMA wave is the 34 period, and it's 34 for every time frame. 34 is a Fibonacci number, by the way. It's the 34 period exponential moving average. And if there's three of them, okay, you're going to set up one on the high, one on the low, and one on the close. Now I'm going to show you how to do that manually here. At some point in the near future, we will have a self-install version of this. I don't have one right now, but I just wanted to give you guys a very colorful representation of how price action and the wave work together. So if you're going to put the wave on your chart manually, okay, let's do that together here. Let's go to this chart, and I'm going to go ahead up to Insert, Indicator, and we want to go ahead over to Moving Average, and I'm going to set up the 34 period exponential. First one I'm going to do is the high, and I like to color the high one red. That's usually my preference. So I'll color that one red. If you want to make it a little thicker, that's certainly your prerogative. I like to make them a little thicker. So there's the 34 EMA on the high. I'm going to go back up to Insert, Indicator, Moving Average. I'm going to do it again, 34 period exponential, but this time on the close. Okay, so again, these are three individual moving averages. Okay, so I'm going to go and call this one, I'm going to actually color this one blue. All right, and finally, Insert, Indicator, Moving Average, and the final one is on the low. So again, they're all 34, they're all exponential. I just color them green, red, and blue. Okay. I think I used the wrong color on the high one. Yeah, I like putting my red in low and my high on green. That's my bad. Let me show you the indicator list. By the way, if you made a mistake like I just did, right-click your chart, go to indicator list, and you'll see that we have these moving averages here. Well, I know this first one is that 200 period simple in white that I see slicing across my chart. The second one is my 34 EMA high, which I like actually in green. Okay, so green, red, and blue. And that's where grab comes from, green, red, and blue. Now, obviously I did not invent exponential moving averages. This is very much, you know, a tool that that I use, that I kind of, I don't know, maybe developed is a better word, who knows. Part of this tool, I think people just kind of stop at the use of the 34 periods and they just kind of go from there. Remember, part of this is making sure that you're using this within the market look back. That's a huge part of that. Okay? So this is my wave study, or my 34 EMA wave study. I am hugely influenced by, I think, what is the psychological power of Fibonacci numbers. Not just Fibonacci levels, but Fibonacci numbers. And this is certainly reflecting that. Obviously, Fibonacci-based moving averages are nothing new. In fact, you'll see people utilize 13, 21, 55 period simple moving averages or exponential moving averages all over the place. So that's not unusual. Use of Fibonacci-based moving averages is not unusual. What makes this a very unique tool, what makes what I'm teaching you right now a very unique tool, is the way I utilize it. Okay? Having the high-low close leaves a very wide footprint across price action. Squeezing it into the market look back gives it the proper perspective, and this is where it's very important. I see a lot of people take my settings and use the wave, and I'm happy and flattered by that. They're taking the first key step to what I think is vital to market cycle analysis. But if you don't do it within the look back, you're not going to get the consistent results. So anytime you are taking what I call a clock angle reading, I think all of us understand the angle of a clock better than we understand. We're not human protractors. We're not human compasses, right? I think every one of us just inherently knows what the angle to means. In fact, I know so because they make clocks and watches without numbers on them. We know these so well, right? So these angles are very familiar to us. So what I utilize is this clock angle reading because I know most people really understand the difference, that very subtle difference between 1 and 2 o'clock or 5 and 6 o'clock as it represents an angle, right? So the first step after you put this study on your chart, and again, it's the same setting, 34 period on the high-low close on any time frame. I don't care if it's a 1 minute, I don't care if it's a 1 month. Same Fibonacci number. What you need to do is view it within the look back. So here's a 1-hour chart of the Euro-US dollar. The market look back for this chart is what? We just talked about it. It's basically 2 weeks, basically 10 trading days, no less. If you're a little bit over, that's fine. What do I have on my screen right now? Basically today, the 16th, back to what looks to be the 4th. So I'm right about there. I can slide one more time and see what it brings me. It takes me back to January 22nd. So that's a huge jump on this chart. It's a huge jump. Okay. Here I've got about 13 days. I can work with that. I mean, it's a little bit under, but you're going to get used to it. And I'll show you both views. So you'll see that if you took the reading in this view and took the reading in the other view, you're not going to get a huge different reading. Okay. All right. So here's how you do it. I've got my look back. I can even push the chart shift to give me a little bit more room to kind of view the angle at which these lines are moving. If this was the hand of a clock, and you can kind of key in on the middle line, the close line, if you want, but if this was the middle line of the clock, and you could even extend out the middle line, pretend that you're taking your segment drawing tool and just extend it out. What time is that? It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to give you the settings in a moment, but what time was that? Would most of you agree it's somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock? Would all of you agree? If you were to take a clock angle reading of the Euro-US dollar within this look back, it's about 1 or 2 o'clock? If you agree, this is an uptrend. Okay? Now, it may not, you might go, well, Raghee, wow, well, thanks for the news flash. I could tell this was an uptrend without the wave. And you're right. You're absolutely right. The wave does more than point out sometimes the obvious. Okay? But what we want to do is this. Okay? What we want to do is consider that when would we have realized the uptrend was in place? When would we have determined an uptrend versus a spike? See, a lot of times people get tricked into looking at the market and then they go ahead and decide that a move higher is now an uptrend. Well, we know that's not the case. Okay? Having this visual representation gives me a couple different things. One, I absolutely can distinguish a spike and what is a trend. In fact, we can see the market started getting out of the downtrend right about here, started to transition, not a strong uptrend, but started to transition